it's Kathy Ekdahl from Personal Best Personal Training, back here for Mass Golf. I'm a TPI certified golf fitness instructor, and I have the pleasure of working at Willow Bend Country Club right now, which is a beautiful facility if you have not played there yet. So today I want to talk about something which is often very elusive for the golfer, and this is called the X factor or coil. And for those of you who are trying to get greater distance with your clubs, for those of you who are trying to really enhance your golf game, a better understanding of what the X factor or coil or storing potential energy during your golf swing is all about, I thought I would share a little bit of a tutorial with some really basic drills for you to get started on this. Now, before I show you the tests and some of my drills, there are many ways to work on shoulder separation from hip separation. And today I'm going to give you some of the most basic drills that you can do at home or at the gym, especially if you haven't been doing this yet. So as we know, I'm right-handed, so in my backswing, the hips stay still and the arms make a big turn. And as I turn my body, I'm isolating shoulder turn, trying not to move the hips a lot. Might move a little because I'm a little tight. So when you bring the club up in your backswing and you don't move your hips, you've created elastic energy across your body, and you're storing energy in the right hip or the hip of the back leg. If you're lefty, it'll be your left leg. And once we store that energy, we unleash it with the elastic power of our core, our hips, and our shoulders. But for many golfers, because they either have weak abdominals or their shoulders or hips are very tight, they'll come here and their whole body will turn with it. And then on the downswing, the whole body's coming with it. And so you don't get a lot of separation, and you'll get what's called a power leak. We really want to be able to turn our shoulders separate from the hips. And then on the downswing, you want to be able to turn your hips separate from the shoulders. But we're going to work on the upper half right now. So the first thing I want you to do is this little test. And this is one of the tests that TPI does to determine whether you can separate your shoulders from your hips. So what you're going to do is you're going to stand in your golf address. So maybe it's like a 5-iron. You know, I'm not in my wedge. I'm not in my driver. I'm pretending I'm in my 5-iron. And then you're going to cross your arms over your chest. And then I want you to move your shoulders without moving your hips. So it might look something like this. This. Can I move my shoulders without my hips? And I think my hips are moving just a little bit, but in general, I'm moving my shoulders without my hips. When I test clients, they're here, they're ready to go, and they do this. And they do this. And then I say, no, move your shoulders separate from your hips. And then they do this and this. So neither of those examples demonstrate the ability to separate shoulders from hips. So the question is, once you know that's your gig, how do you change it? I'm going to show you a couple very simple drills. So the first drill that I want to just show you is a seated stretch. And so when my clients can't separate their shoulders from their hips, I have another test I do to determine whether it's because their shoulders are tight. And by shoulders, I mean your rib cage, your thoracic spine. So we're talking shoulder turn, but what we're really talking is rib cages. So a nice stretch for this particular issue is you're going to put a roller, a pillow, a med ball between your legs. This is going to lock in your hips so they don't turn. And then you're just going to turn your shoulders to one direction. I'm taking my opposite hand, putting it on the thigh, and I'm taking my backhand and I'm pulling myself deep into this stretch. So right now, this is my finish. That would be my finish as a right-handed golfer. And then when I go on the other side, this is my backswing, my shoulder turn. And so for people first addressing this issue, this is a really nice stretch. And you want to work on as much rotation as you can. You should have no back pain. You should have no shoulder pain. And you can hold it for 10 or 15 seconds and really breathe, or you can do reps. So that's number one, something that I think could help people on an entry level. So the question is, if you have the mobility, if you can turn, why can't you separate shoulders from hips? Often, it's because you either don't have strong muscles through your rib cages and your mid-back, or your abs are weak. So I'm not going to tell you about abs today, but remember, this is what's in between here and here. You got to have strong abs to get good coil, the X factor, shoulder-hip separation, however you want to call it. All right, so that's a stretch. Now what we want to say to ourselves is, well, okay, now what muscles hold us? What muscles allow us to twist? Well, for one, it's your obliques, right? But for the other thing, I love a seated alternating row for people to really start thinking about how to get that separation. And this is the way we're going to do it. I like a chair. Sometimes I have people stand. So I'm going to show you both variations. I have tubing attached into the door here. And I'm going to sit in my chair. And I'm going to stay very tall with my legs centered. If you don't think you can keep your legs centered, put that roller back in between your knees. And I'm going to rotate one side, and I'm going to rotate the other. And I'm squeezing my shoulder back without moving my hips. Okay, so this drill starts to really get those rib cages and upper back muscles going. And what you're going to find is it's a strengthening drill. So I highly recommend that. So we work in the seated stretch, then we work in a seated strengthening position. Now I want to show you this same drill standing. And this is where people lose their disconnect. When I stand here, knees are soft, abs are tight. I'm going to rotate one rib cage just the same as in the seated chair, but I'm not turning my hips. And it's really fascinating how many people don't even know that they're not able to separate those body parts. So if you're in your standing position and your hips are turning too, go down to the seated position, take the roller between your knees. Okay, so the next one I think that I use a lot for myself, for a self-assessment, is I'm going to get into my golf stance, and my bum is against this chair. So both butt cheeks are here against the chair. And I want to feel that the whole time. And usually I do this against a wall, but just for you guys, we're going to do it here. My hips are against the chair. I'm going to bring my arms across my body. I'm going to do the same thing. Can I rotate? Can I rotate and feel both butt cheeks on that chair? So you get the gist of it. If this is not separating from this, what will happen is this. My hip will come off. So it's much better against a wall because the wall won't move like the chair does. But that's a great assessment for you. If when you do that turn, you feel your glutes coming off the wall, that means you're not separating. All right, one more drill I want to show you today. It's probably the hardest. And so I'm doing this in a ascending order of difficulty. I'm in a half kneeling position. And by the way, this is gold when it comes to golf fitness, because in a half kneeling position, you're locking your hips in from moving. I'm going to take this club over my head. I'm going to draw my abs in and I'm going to squeeze the butt cheek of the back leg. and I'm gonna turn my shoulders. Oh boy, that's my backswing. That's hard. Now if I go the other way, I'm going to the open side. That's okay, don't worry about it, but don't let your hips move. So you're gonna turn here, breathe, and then you get a little break when you go to the other side, but maintain that hip stability, okay? Then we switch legs, curl the back foot under, squeeze this butt cheek, arms overhead. There's my finish, that's a big turn. And here, again, I'm turning to the right, which would be my backswing. So, first we have to figure out what we can do. Can we even separate? Second, we have to have the mobility and freedom to do it. And I gave you a couple examples of how to look at that. And then third, we need to create the strength in the rib cage and obliques to hold that position. And as I said, we're not talking about abs today, but that's a really big part of this formula. It's the most important part, really. And I have a lot of videos on Mass Golf and on my YouTube channel, Kathy Ekdahl, that you can look at for abdominal training as well. So that's about it. It's many different levels that might work for you. And as always, if you ever have any questions, you can email me at Kathy@personalbestpersonaltraining.com. Have a good week, everybody. I'll see you soon.